Welcome to Three Devs and a Maybe, the podcast series for beginner web developers and general web enthusiasts. Now, introducing your show hosts, Michael Budd, Fraser Hart, Lewis Keynes, and Ed Mann.
Hi everyone, and welcome to another episode of Three Devs and a Maybe, podcast for web enthusiasts, for anyone who's into programming, that kind of stuff. As always, I'm joined by my two friends, stroke colleagues. I don't want to say colleagues. You haven't been my colleagues for years. But,
it's a little bit informal as well, actually, Michael.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
Colleagues in life.
Yes.
Colleagues in life partners. Yeah. No, that's too much, isn't it?
In the employment of life.
In the employment of life. We're employed to do life.
Yeah, so, I am joined by Fraser Hart.
Hello.
And Mr. Ed Mann.
Hello.
But no Lou tonight. Lou is a is it David Hasselhoff convention or something?
Yeah, I think it's the massage course as well that he's on.
Oh yeah. Oh,
so
right.
massaging like David Hasselhoff.
Yeah, I think it's the David Hasselhoff Odor Sensual. They're learning about today. Apparently, it smells quite nice. That's why he was telling me on the phone earlier, anyway. But it seems to be going good, and apparently he's really good at it now.
Excellent. So you guys, good week. Should we start off with Fraser? Let's go with you.
Yes, my week has been fine, actually. At the office, it's been a little bit busy. I've just kind of been working on with the company I'm working for. We've just built a new e-commerce system, which we're going to be rolling out to all our clients. Right. So I've been working on just the review system for that for the last couple of days. So obviously, I guess the standard functionality of you buy something, then a week later you'll get an email, or a month later you'll get an email saying, what do you think of the product? Go on here and review it. So I've been building that in. That's pretty much done now. Nice. So I just need to do a bit of testing on it tomorrow, and then we can roll it out to the clients. That's quite a massive project, isn't it? Really, to build your own kind of e-commerce system, I guess. Yeah, well, I guess as you know, we had one back in Classic ASP a while ago, and we've not really had a dedicated platform. We've just been kind of rolling out bespoke systems to clients and stuff, and then we kind of took the time to actually sit down and say, right, we need to have a system that we can roll out. So we've actually put the time and effort into creating a whole system, which it's actually coming along really, really nice. And it was I think I mentioned before, it was built on top of a system that Ed started building when he was working for us. So Ed started working on not an e-commerce system, on a content management system.
I remember it well.
Yeah, fantastic little content management system. So we've taken that and expanded it out to have another bundle with an e-commerce platform in there. So it's coming together really nicely. And there's still bits and bobs that we're working on to get it there, but it is in a state where we can roll it out to clients now. So it's good.
So this system it's like independent of the payment gateway itself. It's just more the managing the products, registering the payments, all that kind of stuff.
That's correct. Yeah. So it's all your standard, like your cart functionality and getting to the point where you can check out. Yeah. Nice.
Just out of interest, what have you done in terms of logging and stuff? I mean, do you log that into? Obviously you log into a database, but do you do any sort of like text logging or anything like that?
No. It's all to a database at the moment. But
no, that's fair enough. I'm just interested. That's all. Cool. Okay, that sounds pretty good. And I know from outside of work, you guys all met up at the weekend, didn't you?
Oh, we did, yeah. Wow. Sorry, we should have mentioned that. That was really good. You were sorely missed.
Why didn't you come, Mick? God.
But not mad.
Yeah, it turned into quite the messy one. Well, at least for Fred and myself that we know about. Like we met up in the classy establishment of Wetherspoons in Tunbridge, and had a few drinks in there, and then we went from there to the wharf, had a few there, and played some pool, which was good times. And Ed was eating insects and stuff as well.
We were both like, yeah. Oh, yeah, that was, because didn't we? We did the challenge. It's on Facebook, actually. I need to put the link in of us eating these cockroaches. I got them from a mate's birthday.
Right.
And it's like I'm a celebrity type thing, and you can have like the challenge type thing to do it, and it tastes like sawdust. Yeah, we did. We all did. Yeah, Lou, me, Fraser, and then my mate for his birthday. And then obviously, because we were a little bit drunk then, I also bought him some lollipops that had the taste of the alcohol, but they also had, say, like tequila, and it had a worm in it.
Yeah.
Had a real worm in it. Now, Lewis had a vodka one with a scorpion in it, and he was sensible. He literally just ate half of it in one go. It was quite funny. Classically. Yeah. Me, on the other hand, no, I sucked on it like a lollipop and slowly, pretty much, and slowly got to, Yeah,
because like 1 minute I saw Lewis put on Twitter going out for a few beers, and then next thing I knew it was like Lewis on Twitter saying, "How's the hangover?" Yeah, I was like, that escalated pretty quickly.
Oh, we should have mentioned that we got really classy as well, didn't we, for a little bit, because we went into the slug and lettuce, and then we were drinking like double scotch. Well, we had a double scotch, and then we were drinking cocktails out of martini glasses.
Absolutely.
And we proper looked the part on Tunbridge High Street.
So, any other highlights from your week, or is that about it in a nutshell?
I think that's pretty much it, to be honest. I spent a bit of time, I think you saw on Twitter, on Code Wars, which is kind of like they do these code katas and stuff, because it's something that I've heard banded about and something that I've meant to get into. And code katas, for people that don't know, it's they'll set you a task and they'll say, okay, here's a situation, you want to write a bit of code that returns this when this is fed into it and this when this is fed into it, and it's just basically like solving puzzles with code. So I spent a few hours, I think it was on maybe Thursday night or Friday night. It must have been Thursday night, going through and doing some of these, and basically, it dawned on me how terrible I am at JavaScript. But it's been a really good learning experience, though, because it forces you. I don't know if you guys find this as well, but you always kind of find the same solutions to problems and use the same functions. And it forced me to put myself out of my comfort zone and think about things in a slightly different way, and look at problems which I don't encounter every single day, so don't automatically know how to solve. And it was really good from that point of view. Yeah.
Oh, wicked. So, sorry, what site is it you went to do that?
It was codewars.com, I believe. Let me just check. Yeah, I think they do Ruby and JavaScript, and they're talking about bringing PHP in. Let's have a Code Wars.
Yeah, why would you want to do that? God, PHP.
Is this all free of charge as well then?
It is, yeah. You just sign up to it, and it's really good, and it's kind of cool because once you've solved the problem, it puts you into a discussion forum, so you can talk about how you got to where you can basically talk about your solution and compare it to other people's solution, and you can vote other people's solutions, and you can say, oh yeah, I could have done it this way and it would have saved me 10 lines of code, or I could have done it this way and it would have just a clean way of doing it. But it's really good, and I sat down and played with it for a few hours, and when I did it as well, I kind of set myself a schedule of, right, every night I'm going to sit down and I'm going to do one of these code katas. Haven't touched it since.
That sounds like
I will. I fully intend to.
That's interesting, because actually something I want to bring in at my workplace, actually, because we kind of we have front end developer meetings and we have marketing meetings, but I want to do something with the front end developers, kind of something like that, like code katas. But so is that something like you could do in a meeting, like if you had like an hour's kind of slot to do that?
Or? Oh, absolutely. What, in terms of writing your own, or using Code Wars in a meeting?
Yeah, I was going to make my own, but if there's something out there, that would be amazing.
Yeah, no, I think you absolutely 100% could do it in a meeting. Yeah, and I guess like collaboratively, it'd be a good way of doing some of the difficult ones and getting everyone to sit down and talk about solutions and come to a joint conclusion, I guess.
Excellent. I'll give that a go then. Awesome. How about you then, Ed, man? Good week?
Yeah, it's been really good, man. The weekend was pretty good. Was able to get on with a couple of blog posts, which was always good. Sorry?
Well, what were they on?
So what were they on? They were on PHP tuples, which was quite fun. Right. Because everyone wants PHP tuples, the data type, and also PHP. This was an interesting one, actually. So last week, I when I was running through some logs from one of the applications I currently manage, I was noticing quite a lot of time was spent disk I/O. So hitting the disk for sessions, because I store quite a bit of information which I probably shouldn't do in a session. So I was looking at ways to speed that up, and there are a couple of ways you can use, like memcache, to store the session in memory like that, or Redis to do the same thing. But I ended up just using a file format. Well, not a file format, but file type. Sorry, like you've got ext4, like you've got ntfs, fat32, but it's called tempfs. Mm-hmm. And in essence, what it does, it allows you to make a partition on your computer that is actually in Linux world and Unix world, that allows you then to actually have this partition that's actually stored though in memory, so in RAM. So it's non-persistent, but then it acts as hello. It's actually just a still directory. So you can symlink, say, like your sessions directory into this instead, and you'll get the speed boost of it being in memory instead of being on disk now. And it's great. And I noticed immediate like speed boost. So can't recommend it enough.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. Well, I did do a little tutorial. I don't know if you saw it, but
did you?
Oh,
this is embarrassing.
I've not seen this.
I didn't see this. I have to check this out.
Do you have an RSS feed on your site, Michael?
I do, yeah.
Google APIs to fetch place reviews.
Yes. Yeah, basically.
You say, yes. It's like, yes, I do remember doing that now.
I do vaguely remember it. Yeah, no, only reason was I had a mate come round on Saturday, and he's a really amazing scientist, but he's actually thinking about getting into web development. And so he's just starting off the basics at the moment, like HTML, CSS. But he got this site he's made for a friend of a friend, and he just needed something. His friend's got like this Google Places entry, and he wanted to get the reviews from there and put it into a feed on the website. But he couldn't find a widget that did it. He got all these different widgets that did certain things, but he couldn't find a specific thing. So I wrote up the script for him. It took me about an hour and a half or something, but I've not really played with Google's API too much, so it was the first for me. But it's nothing complicated, really. It just makes a quick call to API and brings back these details, and I've just done a simple for each loop to spit them out, really. Cool. But for anyone who wants that very specific thing, check it out.
Boom.
But that's what I've done. Have I done anything else?
You've got your Mac back.
I have got my Mac back.
How is that?
Well, it's been going for about 3 hours and it's still displaying, so that's good.
So it was the dust. So it was dust.
Well,
supposedly.
Basically, yeah, I think basically they know that customers will kick off if they say we can't find anything wrong with it. So they said that basically found some dust in like one of their connectors. I don't know what connector or what, but
very vague. I love that. We found dust in a connector.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, when it came back, it was absolutely covered in dust. Like, it had just been in the Sahara Desert or something. So I don't know
whether they made it dusty. They're like, well, we're going to just chuck a load of dust on it. And say we clean inside, like, this is all the dust that was on it before.
Yeah, we could be like, this is all the dust that was inside it and all that's outside.
We just put it out. We wanted to give it all back to you because it's your property. You own this dust.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is. Oh, I'm so glad to have it back, to be honest.
Did they charge you a lot for that?
50 quid.
Oh, that's not too bad, I guess.
It's not too bad, no.
Was that a reseller Mac, or was it actually Apple themselves?
It was a reseller. It was Stormfront. But I think they all go to the same workshop, when they go for repairs. So, I'm happy with 50 quid, to be honest with you. It could be a lot worse. So, just got to see how it goes on now.
You've been cheating on your iMac with a MacBook, and now you're back again. So what's happening?
No, I'm back again.
Are you just going to split it 50-50, or...?
Yeah, pretty much. Well, I use my MacBook when I get to work, and then iMac when I'm at home. So
because you don't need to use your guest Windows box anymore at work.
No, exactly.
How is that? Is that good? Is it a better experience now?
You know what? I just love it. It's just so much better.
Me and Fraser were talking this on Friday. The fact that you both talked about your MacBook Airs.
Yeah,
it's great.
It's just so much more enjoyable to work on. It really is.
Oh, it doesn't weigh anything. It's nice.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, people ask you what's so much better, and you're like, well, it's just nice. You can't really put your finger on it. It's just nice. So, I'm really happy to have that back. I've got a few hot picks and things, but I'm trying to think if I've got anything else from my week to really talk about. I'm pretty boring, to be honest with you. So,
well, didn't you have a pick? Yeah. You've got that. Oh yeah, that podcast is probably a pick, isn't it?
Yes, it is actually. Yeah. So, have you guys got any hot picks first of all before I start rambling on? How about you, Fraser?
Yes, I have one hot pick. It was something that I was just chatting to Ed about before you came on. It's basically I saw an Angular JS fundamentals video on YouTube a couple of nights ago. One of the best things I've seen web development wise in terms of presentation is because the whole front end MVC frameworks is something that I've been desperate to get my hands dirty with, but I haven't found time, or it's probably out of laziness more than anything else, to actually kind of get my hands dirty with. So someone recommended this Angular JS fundamentals in 60 minutes-ish, in 60-ish minutes by some fella called Dave Wallin, or I don't know how to pronounce his his surname anyway. But it's really, really good. The video runs for 1 hour and 10 minutes, and he basically takes you from knowing nothing to you could effectively create an app with stuff that he's talking to you about on there. And it's, I'd 100% recommend it if anybody's got any interest whatsoever in getting into the front end frameworks. This video is AngularJS fundamentals in 60-ish minutes. We'll get the link up in the show notes. Just really, really good. 100% recommend it.
Wicked. Any others?
No, that's it. I've got a tweet of the week.
Oh, have you?
I have.
Excellent. We've not had that for a while. Go on.
Well,
it's not
a tweet of the week. It's just Brian Stein's tweet that he sent us today, because he sent us a really nice tweet today. Just says, I recently found an entertaining gem of a software development podcast by 3 devs and maybe. So Brian Stein, you're my new favourite listener.
You're a legend.
Yeah. Jeff's a little bit quiet, hasn't he? We've heard
I think Jeff is probably quite scared and shaking in the corner of a padded room somewhere. But
nothing to worry about, Jeff. Nothing to worry about. We still like you.
Oh, you're still our bestie.
But no, thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I didn't know he sent that. He had added me on Twitter today, but I didn't realise that's what the connection was. So, thanks, man.
Yeah, so thanks again, Brian. Really appreciate it. And, great to hear from you.
Definitely, yeah. How about you then, Mr. Man?
Hello. I've only got 2 this week, so it won't be me rambling on. I've got... The first one is interesting because I actually registered, shockingly, for my first .co.uk domain this week.
Really?
Yeah, but I haven't done a .co.uk domain ever, and I didn't realise that you can't use full whois privacy on it. There's something about like the legally you can't use the full, like with like .coms and .orgs and stuff. You can literally say don't have all my information. If you're actually legally like a business and stuff using that domain. For commercial reasons or advertising, you have to provide all like your address, and it has to be displayed in your whois information.
Yeah.
But I was like, I don't really want this, because just for a person. It's just for my blog. This one was just so I can redirect to edman.com. So what you can do instead is it allows you to opt out of story. If you're a personal account, so it's not for commercial use, you can just opt out of the address bit.
Yep.
And it will just come with personal, and you can contact. So that was one thing I would say, so you can just go to your domain registrar and just say, look, I'm a personal individual on this. Can you please remove it? My other pick is it's actually a Git commit from our friend Sebastian Bergman, who's the PHPUnit guy.
Right.
And
so what's his first name? Smashton.
Oh, Sebastian. Sorry, Sebastian.
It did sound like that.
Sebastian.
That's a really cool name.
Sebastian Bergman. And he's actually said he's initially the end of life of the Pair version of PHPUnit. You will not be able to install PHPUnit through Pair anymore.
Really?
Yes. Today's release of PHPUnit 3.7.35 and PHP 4.0.17 have they removed Pair support, which is about time.
Wow.
Because you've got Composer and you can get the PAR file if you need it. But yeah, so that's kind of, Pair really, I thought, lives off PHPUnit. The reason why people use Pair is because I need to use PHPUnit, but now because, of course, Composer's come around and just uses the PAR archive, PHP archive.
Obviously, you know that I like to argue anything you say.
Yes.
But, I always find Pair really easy to install anything.
No, you're the
I
only
find
one
it
in the
easier
history of
than
the world.
Composer.
You are the only one in the history of the world. The amount of time, it's so confusing. It's so confusing. It doesn't deal with versions of dependencies well, because you will update them. And
but then I just ring you and say, Ed, it's not working.
Well, Ed, you broke it. Your blog post doesn't have it. I'm like, I don't have a blog post on it. Well, you should have written a blog post on it. Why don't you think of that, Ed? Yeah, Ed. Oh, dear. But no, that's a massive thing though for him to do, to kind of do, because a lot of their install base. I don't know how much of their install base now percentage wise is Pair still, but that's a massive change.
Yeah.
And that's my pick. So how about you, Michael?
Nice. I have a couple. First one is another podcast actually that I think I spoke to you two guys about today. It's not really a rival podcast because
we're the best. Slightly different. No, we're not the best. We're not the best.
It's a slightly different angle. It's something that we've done a podcast on, but this is basically freelance. Is it freelanceweb.com? Should have done my research before I actually came on here, but the freelanceweb.com it is. And basically, it's just a podcast for people who are really looking to learn more about freelancing, basically. But I listened to a couple of episodes today and thought it was really well put together. So I'd definitely check that out if that's the kind of thing you're looking into. Yeah. But it talks about, how to get extra work and, how you should be setting your rates and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check it out if that's what you're looking to find out a little bit more about. It doesn't really go into as much technical detail as we do. So, like I say, I think there's room for both of us in the market.
So what you're saying is we're cleverer.
Yeah. Pretty much. No, not at all. But it's a different spin on things, I guess.
So is it directed primarily at the web then? Freelance web developers? Yeah. And that's pretty cool, actually, because then you can just do freelance in general. That's nice. I'll definitely have to check that out.
Yeah, that's cool. I'll just subscribe to that, so I'm downloading the first episode
They
now.
have a lot of guests, don't they?
They do. I think we need to get more guests on our shows,
on this podcast. Why do people not want to talk to us?
I don't know. Yeah, if anybody out there listening wants to be a guest on our show, give us a shout.
Yeah, please, do. Definitely.
We'd love that.
Jeff?
Absolutely.
Like any skill level. Not you, Jeff. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Any skill level and any topic that you want to do as well.
Yeah, if you've got like a passion for one topic and you want to talk about it, go for it. We'll be well up for it.
Yeah.
Or even if you've never written a line of code in your life, but you're thinking of writing lines of code in your life. That'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, you've never written a line of code, but you want to write multiple lines of code in your life.
No, I think that'd be quite interesting. I reckon, like to get someone who's just entering the industry or trying to get into the industry. That'd be really interesting.
Even if they're like or has some really what sound like stupid questions, just absolutely anything goes. That'd be really good to get them on.
The only question that's stupid is the one you didn't answer.
Exactly. But these guys, they've got some great topics. And one of them, I could have done with this like 2 years ago. Dealing with stress and depression.
Yeah, I was just about to look at that one. Yeah, that sounds really interesting, actually.
Yeah, that would have been perfect for me. But there we go. That's my first pick. And the second one, it's nothing really exciting. It's a bit old school. But obviously, I've been using Sublime Text recently.
Boom.
That isn't obviously because it's the best editor out there.
It is. Yeah, I agree. But I don't know why, but on my MacBook I installed Sublime Text 2 and not 3, which is weird. But
I think
completely
3's not a stable release yet, is it? I think
it's... Is it not?
No.
It's still in beta, I think. I could be
That'd
wrong.
be why then. But the only thing I found out was missing from Dreamweaver was the linting, really, and the code hinting. So I just basically...
You've moved over to Sublime, because I thought the whole problem was like FTP and stuff like that.
Oh, well, we're still FTPing, and I should be announcing all these details on air. But I'm using a FTP plugin for Sublime, but I've also found this Sublime linter for Sublime Text.
That's cool.
It's if you basically go into the package manager on Sublime, you search for linters, it'll be the only one that comes up, I think. But it's pretty good. It's probably not quite as good as Dreamweaver's, and it's rare for me to compliment anything about Dreamweaver, but it's not too bad.
Does Dreamweaver actually lint then, or does it just do syntax?
Yeah.
It does lint.
I'm trying to think now. I think it's more code hinting. Yeah, I'm trying to think. Most of the things I miss are code hinting. Yeah.
Because I like there's another one, I can't remember it, but he does like styling and stuff. Like it would say if you're PSR2 compliant and all this. See, that's why
right.
So you did have a go at PHP. What was it? The one I'm using now. How do I not know which one I'm using now? Let me type it in.
Atom.
PHPStorm.
Oh right, yeah, I did. Yeah, I didn't get on with it.
You didn't get on with it, and that has everything. No. That's like a PHP developer's dream.
Yeah, but it is an IDE, isn't it?
It is an IDE. That is the thing. See, to be honest, I only use it. That's the funny thing of saying that is I only use it for one big project because it's so big and bulky. I use it for that one project, and then I do always go back to Sublime for my small, other projects.
But the other one I've got, which I can now finally use, is Atom.
Yes. What's your thoughts on that?
Well, basically, I applied for an invite 2 months ago, and then I got it about 2 weeks ago. And on that very same day, that very same hour, my iMac broke.
Oh,
solid. So then I tried to use the invite on another computer, and it was like, sorry, this invite's
no.
So I've not used it as yet, but I will probably this week give it a go, and I will give my feedback on that next week.
Yeah, I've had a quick play with Atom, because I got the... I think it must have been about the same time. They must have been sending around bouts of invites, but I got mine and downloaded and had a play with it, and I don't know if it was just unfamiliarity, but it felt, I don't know, it didn't quite feel as smooth, and I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, because like visually to look at it, it looks pretty much identical, but I'm not sure what it was, but it's probably just unfamiliarity whatever that word is,
Yeah.
But it just didn't feel right, and it probably is just because I've not used it and I haven't got
I mean, I think for when I read up, it sounded like Sublime, just with a few extras, out the box.
Yeah, I've got high hopes for it because it's on the web stack. It'd be quite interesting, that it's written in JavaScript and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so the trouble is like, because I was like saying it's really good, and it is really good. But the trouble, I go back to Sublime Text 2. Do you know what I mean? I played around. I used it like solely for a week, but then that end of that week came, and then I just clicked on Sublime Text 2 and I started using that again. So it's you get used to what you're using, and you don't really want to change. And But
you're using Storm now, or?
Well, no, I'm using, so I'm mixing and matching. So I'm using Storm for the big project, and then I use Sublime Text 2 for the small projects and other languages I use. Because that's the thing. It's what's weird is I use for Java and stuff, and I'm like doing like these small examples and Scala and stuff. Because I'm not doing it on such a big project scale, I still use Sublime for it. It's really the refactoring tools in PHPStorm that sell it to me.
Really? Okay. Could you give a few examples of?
Well, stuff like, so there's the ability to be able to variable hoisting and stuff like that. So, you would say, maybe you've got a bit of text that you reuse quite a bit, and then you can replace that into a variable and stuff like that easily. Moving functions around, making interfaces out of these things and stuff. Similar to what you can do in Eclipse and in NetBeans for Java. You can do it in the PHP world, which is very good. And then also it's got inbuilt PHPUnit, which is awesome because then you can run your tests all the time. It gives you the same feel for what you're doing in NetBeans for Java development, but in PHP development, which is really cool.
Right. Very nice.
And Vagrant support out of the box. Sorry, that's the last thing. Vagrant support and a terminal inbuilt, which is awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because my colleague at work, he uses NetBeans, and he was showing me he's got this button that says something like repair code. I was like, that sounds amazing. You just click this button and it just fixes it for you. But I asked him what it does and he said he didn't know. But
that's because his code's perfect and it doesn't need code.
Exactly.
Yeah, I used NetBeans for a while when I was in New Zealand, just kind of experimenting with other editors. And obviously it's a full-fledged IDE, and it was really kind of nice, but it just felt really heavy because I think the whole thing in itself is, I think it's like half a gig for the software, and I don't like how it saves project files and all this kind of stuff. But I do like the features where you type in a function name and it automatically tells you what you need to what parameters you can be passing in, and when you start typing in like an object name, it'll tell you all your options within there as well. That's really nice. But I think I don't know. Yeah, back to Sublime because it feels nice and it looks good.
I think for me, you just summed it up perfectly though. Like my experience is exactly the same, that it felt heavy. And you open Sublime, and it opens in like a split second, doesn't it? And what you see is what you get. It's just perfect. Yeah. So, unless anyone's got anything else they wanted to mention, should we go on to our topic for the week?
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand you've got a quiz for us today as well on this topic. Perfect.
I have. You have done your research. You've done those Carters. So
but it went really bad though. So,
so he's going to make it up today. This is when I get my ass kicked. No.
I've tried to pick questions that Ed Mann would not have read on Wikipedia before the podcast.
Thanks, man. Oh dear.
Sorry, man. Cool. Did you want to kick us off then, Ed?
I do. So what I've kind of done is split it up today. I've got what is JavaScript. I've got a bit of history. Then I've got the DOM, which we all can have fun talking about because we love that. Ajax and Web 2.0, and then the present and the future of JavaScript.
Web 2.0. I'm looking forward to talking about that buzzword.
So the first thing is, what is JavaScript? Well, JavaScript's interesting because it was born actually out of the need to make web pages dynamic without the need to refresh the page every time. So we have to reload the page and then you'll get a new page up with different content and different layouts and stuff. And they wanted to be able to make these pages are dynamic. JavaScript is procedural and it's an object-oriented language, which is similar to PHP. Its syntax, if you look at it, is influenced by C, similar to PHP. It copies many names and the naming conventions from Java, similar to PHP. It's dynamically typed and has first-class functions. Stuff like you'll be able to pass around a function as if it was just a normal, like a string or a variable or just a number. Similar to PHP, but objects are created different to what you may see in languages like PHP and Java, though. And that's where it gets a little bit different. So instead of like the syntactic class definitions used as blueprints, instead of using classes and defining classes like a class user, objects are actually created programmatically. So you attach methods and properties on them at runtime. And once these objects have been constructed, it could be actually used. That object can actually be used as a blueprint or a prototype, what they like to call them, for creating similar objects. So this is called, and this is what this is kind of a got you in JavaScript bit is. This is called prototype-based programming instead of class-based programming. So they're both object orientated. So you think object-oriented programming like PHP create objects, but instead of using classes like Java and PHP and C++ do, it uses prototypes instead. Though JavaScript is so flexible, you're able to achieve the effect of classical inheritance, which is what we normally see in like the MV star framework. I want to extend this. This is, create a new class in quotes. But actually what's happening is you create one class and you say you create one object and you say, and then you create another object and you say, I want this object to inherit from this object. So it will go through, you have this new object, maybe let's do the user admin one. So you have your user object and you have your admin object. And then you say, your admin object, the prototype, its prototype is user. So it's able then, when you create a new object, which is just an instance of one of them, in a sense, it will say, okay, I'm an admin. I have anything that's an admin, but I also have anything that's also a user. So it goes up that chain like that instead of having all these classes, which can get a bit messy.
Yeah.
Does that that's the weird bit? Because, suppose the first thing when you think of JavaScript, you think of simple methods, which is nice about it. But nowadays, because things are getting a lot more confusing, talking about prototypes. Actually, I personally think prototypes is a lot simpler than classes.
I would disagree, but that's only because it's what I know. You know what I mean?
But what I mean is so you create an object and you say, okay, I'm this object, but I want everything from that object as well. And you just say, that's my parent.
Yeah, true. Yeah.
So it's instead of having to have this class and you have a class, because the kind of thing is like with Java is the reason why prototype languages came about was because class-based languages, you have to create classes for everything before you make an instance of it. But maybe you just want a singleton in quotes, or do you know what I mean? Like you're able to dynamically create these objects. Anyway,
yeah.
But the history of JavaScript. So I'm sure you've heard the whole thing is actually JavaScript itself was actually created in 10 days. Which is
this is a famous story, isn't it?
Kind of crazy in mid 1995. So the actual original language created in 10 days. And you think how much it's being used now, which is just insane. By a guy called Brendan Ike when he was working at Netscape. So Netscape, they're still. Yeah. Do you remember Netscape? Oh,
yeah, Netscape Navigator was my favourite browser.
Really?
Yeah,
so cool. Man, Netscape. Where did they go wrong? Its original name actually was called Mocha, and then it was changed to LiveScript, and then the name JavaScript. Yeah, LiveScript. Then the name JavaScript was adopted.
Fraser, make notes of this because it might come up later.
Boom.
Oh, I'm annoyed. I'm annoying, aren't I? So this was somewhat of a marketing move, though, because Java... Because it was a marketing move, really, because Java was very hip and fresh at the time. So in 1995, Java was the new kid on the block. And they thought, we can't call it LiveScript, let's call it JavaScript. And I always used to think, they wanted to call it JavaScript just because they wanted, to get, the name Java in there. But actually, Brendan was keen to push Java as its little brother, in quotes. So, Visual Basic at that time was Complete and C++ in Microsoft language family. So, that Brendan, he really wanted to say that JavaScript is the little brother, the complementary language to Java, which is very strange. But JavaScript actually is a trademark of Oracle, which then obviously is now Sun Microsystems. So, Netscape had to, the name is under license, had to use the license from Sun to have JavaScript as the name. But there's another thing, so this is an interesting one. So following on that history, so in 1996, JavaScript was taken to ECMA. And you'll probably hear ECMAScript come out quite a bit. So ECMA is an international non-profit standard organisation. and so it was taken to them to create a standard specification. And in mid-1997, ECMAScript was formed, which allowed other browser vendors to create implementations based on the work done by Netscape. So you'll see this a lot, that you've got ECMAScript standards, but you've got JavaScript, and then you've got other standards such as JScript, which is Internet Explorer's version, and you've got ActionScript in Flash. I don't know if any of you have ever played with Flash and played with ActionScript.
I've not, no.
I have a little bit, and it was a painful experience.
So ECMAScript actually defines certain characteristics of the language. It defines the language syntax, it surrounds error handling, it defines its types, it defines the prototype-based inheritance mechanism, and it also defines built-in objects and functions. But then you can be classed as an ECMAScript language if you do all these, but then you add in your extra stuff as well, and that's when you get the problem, like say like JScript has certain things, and then ActionScript. I think ActionScript actually has types, like actual, not static types. They actually have types. I think you can actually do static types in it. But a funny tangent actually is ECMA is currently responsible for the C# language specification standard.
Really?
Yes. So the C# language specification, which I thought was hilarious. So that was released in 1997, initially, and then fast forward, we're currently now on version 5. And each version has added new specifications. JavaScript's added some stuff, and then it's been ported into ECMAScript and voted in, similar with JScript and ActionScript. A funny little actual tangent as well is the ECMAScript 4. So I'm sure you've all heard the buzz about PHP 6. Years ago, there's books on PHP 6. It's going to happen. It's going to be Unicode everything and all this funky stuff.
Yeah.
Nope.
You didn't hear about? Oh god,
me neither.
It was everywhere. The fact that PHP, and it was this big project they were making, and it was a massive change in the PHP world, and it never happened. And even though there's books out that from years ago saying PHP 6 and MySQL, it's not happened. And this is the same with ECMAScript 4. That what happened was there was just too much. It was too optimistic. They wanted to do too many things, and it just blew up. That's why they kind of went from 3 to 5, because they just left out 4. Similar to, I think, what happened in PHP, personally. We'll miss out 6. And it will go straight to 7, which will sound weird, but yeah. Because in ECMAScript 4, actually, they wanted to do class-based OO. They wanted to do operator overloading. They wanted to do strict mode, which they've done in ECMAScript 5, actually, and optional type annotations, which would be quite cool.
I was just going to mention, I don't want to say way too much, but if you want to do it that way, you could use something like Dart.
That is an interesting thing, isn't it? Because that compiles down then into JavaScript, but you get all the... So Dart is a class-based language, not a prototype.
Yeah, unless you're using is it Chrome's V8 engine, I think you can run Dart straight as it is, straight out of the box. But I think, otherwise, like you say, you have to... but you get the software with it. It's all free of charge. You write the script, and then it compiles it into JavaScript for you.
So that's cool. But, it'd be interesting to see if Node.js does Dart then. If it's part of the V8 engine.
Yeah.
That would be quite cool. So that's really just an overview of the language. It's a very small language. It's a C-like language. You'll go into and you'll be able to easily pick it up. It's a scripting language, so you're procedural, so you'll be able to do quick scripts like that, like PHP, but you'll also be able to get into the more complex stuff using objects. One of the things you're definitely going to hit when you first use it on the web, of course, is the DOM. Now, I don't know if Fraser or Mick, do you want to talk about the DOM? Like, what it is, how much of a mess it is?
I think Fraser is the man for this, because I remember him teaching me about the DOM, so I'm going to let him take it away.
That's the thing, I'm not even sure if I know how to describe it technically, but basically, obviously, the DOM is the document object model, and it basically... Sorry, my phone just switched on. I think it's trying to search for something for me.
It's searching the DOM.
Yes, you're trying to find something. Yes, DOM. It's basically... It's I don't even know how to describe it, because the only kind of context I use it in is like DOM manipulation with jQuery and stuff. It's basically when you're moving parts of the page around. Am I on the ball there, or am I way off?
No, you're perfect there, yeah. So it's called the document object model, like you said, and the document. So in a more generic sense, the document object model is a cross-platform, language-independent convention for representing and interacting with objects in HTML, XHTML, and also just XML documents. And the one that we typically always go for is HTML DOM. And because the HTML, the web's markup language, is specified in terms of the DOM. So we have HTML DOM, which includes stuff like class names and APIs such as document.body and stuff like that. So when we want to manipulate because this is what JavaScript was made for, was to manipulate the web page and its contents and its object, because again we live in an object world, so everything's an object. I
remember the phrases. Is it bubbling up and what is it? Was it down? I can't remember. It's bubbling up and
cascade, isn't it? Cascade down, or am I thinking of?
I think there's another phrase. There's all these phrases like walking the DOM, but I think because I remember reading. I was going to actually mention about the book actually that I would recommend to anyone who wants to learn JavaScript in a second. But I remember reading this book and it talked about walking the DOM, and it explained how like when you're targeting these elements, you have to go down the DOM tree and then it goes back up.
Yeah, but the event, because the events and stuff, that's another thing, isn't it? Events, on click and stuff like that. Yeah. And being able to have this event-based system that's non-blocking is another thing actually to talk about. Like that's another thing that's so great about JavaScript and the DOM itself and the event handler. Though event. I'm sure. I don't know if any of you have you two ever like played around like without jQuery and stuff, and just use say the Internet Explorer version of the event handlers and just every other browser in the world.
Yes, when I read this book.
Yeah, they're a bit different, aren't they? And it's a pain, and it's because there was no specification beforehand, and then obviously what happened is everyone implements it their own way. Similar to just browser wars, pretty much. But
and that's why jQuery came about, isn't it? To kind of to unify all that and to handle all that stuff for you.
It's literally say, look, we our job's hard enough as it is to have to play around with all these little bugs and stuff. Let's make it an even playing field.
Can I just quickly plug this book? Actually, if that's all right,
absolutely.
Because I read this book. I read it over Christmas. It cost me. I took it on Amazon now. It's like I don't know why I've got the American site, but it's $14, whatever that is.
Way too much for dollars. Go.
Probably like about nine quid or something. But it's the JavaScript Pocket Guide by Peach Pit. But I read it over Christmas. It's not a massive book, like I say. It's just a little pocket book, and it was one of the best like aids that I've ever read, basically.
Was it this Christmas or last Christmas? Because I do remember you.
I think it was a couple of years ago.
Because I remember you raving about this book, actually. Yeah, no, I do remember
because
about that.
I learned the horrible way, and I basically, like any noob, like I was thinking like jQuery was its own language, and it was a library on top of JavaScript, and I kind of just learnt by reading snippets of jQuery on the web. And I didn't understand JavaScript, so I went back to basics and I learnt JavaScript. I'm not an expert, don't get me wrong, but I know basics now, and this book is really, really good for everything that we've talked about so far on the podcast. But I'll put the link in the show notes.
Yeah,
anyway.
Definitely send it over.
That'd be interesting.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, it's great.
You say that though. You say, I like a noob, but isn't that amazing that a language you don't even have to be a programmer to program in it?
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? Like you could just get up and write. I mean, that's kind of where JavaScript's kind of had a bad name, in the fact that anyone can use it. It's like PHP a bit, where it's a language that anyone can use because it's very easy to get set up and running because it's just a scripting language. Like, I just want to do, maybe like, I mean, the simple example is I want to have an alert box, a confirmation box. So are you sure you want to submit this form? And you can just write on click and as an attribute in HTML equals and return confirm, and then passing your little your prompt you want and stuff, and it returns true or false. And if it returns true, it will actually submit the form. If it returns false, it won't. So I think it's amazing that a language like that's now being used for so much more advanced stuff. It's got both. It's quite amazing.
I don't know about how you two feel, but like I know we often talk about this as a podcast for people getting into PHP, but if you're doing anything for the web, JavaScript is just essential. It's a must. You must know it. I think.
I think more so now than I think me and Fraser were talking just beforehand and stuff, and the fact that like there are jobs now specifically for JavaScript.
Yeah.
Because it's such a powerful language, server side and client side now, these single page applications. And now actually that moves swiftly onto the next topic, which is Ajax and Web 2.0, which is what's brought in, it's like we've got this and we were doing very simple stuff, we were playing with the DOM a bit, maybe we were doing some, I think, like form validation and stuff like that. But then Ajax came around. Now, does anyone want to talk about Ajax or Ajax, as we want to call it for the football team?
Ajax.
I'll give it a pop if you want.
Go for it, man.
So it stands for asynchronous. JavaScript and XML.
Yep.
Yeah. And basically, the way that loading a web page works is you make all these requests to the server when the page loads, and it brings back a load of information, then it renders it onto your screen. But the problem is you're then stuck at that point. You're stuck with the content you've got, and you can't then, you lose any interactivity because you can't update or change things without posting to another URL or whatever.
You can't have like partial updates or anything, can you? It's like a full request again. It's like, bang, let's nuke the page and start again.
Exactly. But say you have a requirement where you just want to, I don't know, let's say just, for example, you want to change the content of a small div or whatever. You can use Ajax to make a request. You give it a URL. You specify any data that you want to post off to that URL. You might have parameters you want to pass to it. And you can also say the format of the data you want to get back, so JSON or whatever. And then you have like a success function that you declare, you know, what you want to do once you've got that content back, which in this example I've just used would be take the content we've got and then put it into our div.
Yeah, that sounds right. Yeah, absolutely, man. Because Ajax actually is a concept. So Jesse, I'm going to do some boring history here, but it's quite. I love this. This is how sad it is. It's like this is interesting to me. Jesse James Jarrett, he published an essay entitled "Ajax: A New Approach to Web Applications" in February of 2005. So 2005 was the time when Ajax, the concept of it, like, you know, the buzzword for it came out. And as you said, it's asynchronous JavaScript and XML. But typically now we replace XML, the verbose XML, you Java people, with good old JSON. Because JSON, JavaScript object notation, which is actually another specification that ECMA handle. And as you say, it's all to do with asynchronous client-side code. It's sending a request, you know, in the background, which doesn't affect, you know, the interaction with the current application, your current web page. You can still scroll, you can still do animations, all the stuff you're doing there. But then in the background, it will do the request, return it, and then you'll be able to, based on a response, do something else with it. This is what made single page applications. And actually, funny that, you know, currently I'm actually reading some of my notes through Evernote, and this is a single page application which uses a lot of Ajax, you know, these asynchronous calls to be able to get the feeling that you're never updating the whole application. You're just updating partial bits of it to give you the feeling that you're using a desktop application.
Yeah. I would. The only thing I would say to like anyone who's like not used Ajax yet and they use it after the show or whatever, like when you first use it, you'll think it is amazing and you will want to use it for everything.
Didn't someone make a website? I'm sure his website a couple of years ago was just Ajax based.
They may well have done that. I think it's still up.
To be fair, I think we all go through those. You know, I really do.
Yeah,
because it's that.
Well, the temptation is to overcook it, but don't. Just really think it's kind of like that whole superhero thing, isn't it? Like, you know, with great power comes great responsibility, but just kind of be careful what you do because you might regret it later. If you use it too much.
You have all that problem, the fact, like, I mean, you have to think of search engines, and sometimes it's just nice to be able to clear the whole page and then restart again. Because again, web pages, until nowadays, web pages were meant to be a short time to live. You know, these things weren't meant to last for hours on end. You know, your memory, you know, usage and stuff, and memory leaks would happen, etc. So, definitely. It's great. XML HTTP Request, that object. I'm sure you all know about that bad boy.
Yes.
Yes? So have you done like raw Ajax calls before?
I think I've done one before, yeah.
And you hated it.
And then
That's
it's
good,
been
man. No,
jQuery
you hated it and you went to...
It's horrible.
Because it's thousands of lines of code to do something that you can accomplish with $.Ajax or $.post or $.get.
Yeah,
absolutely agree. Because so when Jesse James Jarrett actually wrote this, there were none of these libraries about, because obviously he was the starter of this movement. So he cited XML HTTP Request, which was originally created by Microsoft. So we've got to thank Microsoft for this. I think it was in 1999, and it was for one of their email platforms. They created this, and it was a major component that what he dubbed Ajax. But the trouble is, so what that would allow you to do is these asynchronous requests. This object would allow you to do. In JavaScript, I'll put in quotes, and that was ported over to other browsers and stuff. But there was no finalized spec for it at the time when all these browsers were adding it. So everyone had a different way of doing it, and I'm not sure fully if there is actually a full spec of it out yet, but I'm sure there is. But nowadays, so obviously everyone has their own way, and you've got to handle with browsers that are older than, you know, 2008 or so. So you have to deal with these different browsers and these different ways of doing things. So as the phrase was saying about with the DOM, is these libraries started coming out. Prototype, YUI, and good old jQuery. So they started to appear to help patch the and cross-browser issues. So patch these browser issues, such as Ajax request, DOM manipulation, traversal, to solve this problem and make it easier on us to be able to say, look, if I call it, I write this bit of program, it's going to work in all these browsers in the same way.
Yeah, Mootles.
Mootles, yeah. Sorry, I completely forgot Mootles, yeah. So all these, I mean, a lot of them came out, but I think we can kind of say jQuery has won out as.
Yeah.
And I think it was interesting because I was reading today, like Prototype went through a Ruby approach, and it messed up the object, so it messed up the actual global object, the window object. So it would add all the onto the prototypes and all these array, like all the real actual. It would actually mess these up wouldn't mess them up, sorry, but it would add things to them, so it could cause problems to other things on the page. jQuery ran the route that it would just have $, so we remembered $, and it didn't even have to use $, and everything was contained in this one call that then you could then add things to, and I think that's what won out with jQuery, the fact that it wasn't as intimidating and it wasn't as kind of in your face, I'm changing everything on your page than Prototype was at the time.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the final thing I've got with my notes actually is just talking. So we've got, I think nowadays, because JavaScript, so you've got JScript, which is a good old Internet Explorer. You've got, sorry, I'll completely blank. Yeah, JavaScript, obviously you've got ActionScript. So the ones you care about operate JavaScript and JScript. Unfortunately, you're going to care about JScript. Fortunately, they both go by the standards. I think at the moment, in both the latest versions, I'm pretty sure so I know for a fact that good old JavaScript does, but JScript, that supports ECMA 5, so anything in ECMAScript 5 you'll be able to use, like use script mode and stuff in the latest versions of IE. Obviously, you're going to be supporting that browsers like IE 9 and 8 and stuff, and I think 9 wasn't fully supportive of ECMAScript 5 for some reason, but that's a bit annoying. But there's different engines, and this is what's made JavaScript so popular with stuff like Node and server-side stuff, is the fact that, because there's a standard, unlike PHP, which is, there isn't a standard. You've got the runtime, which is Zend, and it's intertwined with the language itself. Unlike Ruby and Python, which, you have them, but then you also have like different versions. Ruby can be run on the JVM and stuff like that. So can JavaScript. JavaScript's a standard in itself with ECMAScript. And so what's actually happened, so the initial version that Brendan Eich made of the engine was called SpiderMonkey, and this was implemented in C. And then, Mickey, you'll be happy to know that the second one was called Rhino, and that was written in Java.
Wow.
So there's a runtime in Java of JavaScript. In prose language, so you can do it in the JVM. There, we also then have our good old Google's V8, and that's what sparked, I can't remember, it's Rail, I think. I've got his name completely wrong there, sorry about that, but Node.js, and that's been a big buzz since 2009, which is server-side, event, non-blocking, event loop-based asynchronous JavaScript code on the server. And that was because V8 was able to do a lot of good performance things on JavaScript, the language, to making it from being quite slow in the browser and stuff to being very fast now. And they've included it in Google Chrome, but they've also open sourced it, so you're able to use it on your own projects as well. Then you also have something like JavaScript Core, which is WebKit's version of it, such as Apple Safari. And then you have Chakra engine, which is used in, that name's so weird, in Internet Explorer, which is technically a JavaScript engine, but it's another engine you should care about. So that's another quite cool thing. You'll hear these maybe come out sometimes when you delve in a bit more, like V8 and stuff like this. But really all that is just an implementation of the specification that is ECMAScript, and that's
nice.
why you have the. I don't know. Have you started using the flag use strict in your JavaScript files?
No.
Very cool, because what that does is it forces you to use the only ECMAScript standards. So you can't have I'm going to start using stuff that's only in JavaScript. I'm going to use stuff that's only in JScript. It's quite good just to limit you, but not limit you in a bad way, but limit you to say, there's the right way of doing it, which is the standard way, and then there's this way that I shouldn't really be doing it, but maybe it looks fancier or something like that.
Yeah.
But that's really all I've got. And I suppose the future is, now currently with the MV Staff frameworks, and like as Fraser you were talking about with AngularJS and all this, the movement now is let's move a lot of logic onto the user's computer because they want these quick, client side, desktop looking applications, but on the web.
Nice work, man. I
Right.
think that's pretty well covered. I think, like you say, though, because I was doing obviously some prep before to get this quiz ready and stuff, and the thing that struck me was actually like the core language is really small. Actually,
Yeah, it's such a simple language that has become, because of its, and I think that's the problem with ECMAScript 4. It was I think Douglas Crockford, he was annoyed because I think Brendan Ike and these people were trying to make it too complex.
Yeah,
I think the beauty in it, and that's why it's become so popular and it's on everything now, is because it's so simple. It's a simple standard language that anyone can then use.
can I ask you a quick question, actually?
Yeah.
You may not know the answer, but John Resig, who made jQuery.
Yes.
Well, two questions really. Is one, has he made any profit out of it?
You and your money. Wow.
Well, I'm just interested. Like, the guy deserves something, doesn't he? You think how much it's like Rasmus with PHP. You think he deserves something out of it? Do you know what I mean? I guess he does with book sales, maybe.
Yeah, it's probably the same as like Tim Berners-Lee with the web. It's like,
yeah,
he's always going to have a job now. I think he works on Code Academy and stuff like that.
Yeah,
but yeah, he was one of the first, like in 2006. He was like 18 at the time, and he made this library and it was the way he was doing. The way he started off thinking about CSS selectors and stuff like that. We think of it like that, and being able to access CSS selectors in jQuery or in JavaScript at the same way as we access them, say, in CSS.
Right.
And that's what brought it up with this idea, and that's what's been very powerful, because you can say stuff like, I want all A tags, but you can do it nicely in $A, on click, and stuff like that.
Yeah. What's my second question?
Prototypical inheritance is awesome. That's your second question.
It really was. Yeah. I think it was also to do with. Oh yeah, how much involvement does he have with jQuery now? Because I think I read on their website that the development team is huge now, isn't it?
It is huge, and I don't think he does as much because I think he's so much on the code. See, that's the thing. I always think to myself, if I was like that, I can dream. You'd get bored of it, wouldn't you?
Yeah, he'd be a cool person to get on the podcast if we could.
Yeah, he does do podcasts, because I've heard an interview with him on another podcast. Yeah, so he's definitely.
Right. I'll tweet him tonight.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, man, definitely.
Wear my magic.
Oh,
yeah,
John, come on the podcast.
So is it quiz time?
I think it is, sir, and I'm so ready for this.
Yeah. Are you warmed up?
Oh. I think pretty much. What are you two doing? Okay, I think everything.
It's late.
It's late. Yeah, it is late. It's 11 o'clock.
I think everything that's in the quiz has been discussed tonight. So if you've been taking notes, you should be okay.
Right.
So Ed wins.
Yeah, pretty much. I would say that's a certainty.
I'm taking off all my notes. Got to be fair. Notes,
okay. So I'm going to say I think everyone can answer these questions unless I say otherwise. But we'll take it in order who can answer first. So yeah, I'll say who can answer first, and then anyone can go for it, basically. Okay. So right, if I create an object, any object, how can I convert that into a JSON string? And we'll go to Edman first.
JSON.stringify.
Okay. Fraser.
JSON.stringify.
Did you know that? Or
no, but I was very happy that went to Ed first.
Okay, so that is one apiece. Okay. So, number 2. Why did Microsoft call their implementation of ECMAScript JScript? Fraser first.
We talked about that on the thing. Because Java?
No, okay. But good guess. Ed?
Because of legal reasons.
It was indeed for legal reasons. They didn't want to have a legal battle with Sun, so they called it JScript.
Okay.
All right. Number 3. Okay, so this definitely wasn't the podcast. So give me 2 original names for JavaScript.
Mocha and LiveScript.
I actually wrote that one down as well.
Ed, you actually lose a point because I didn't actually say your name. So I'm just going to give that to Fraser first.
No,
it doesn't work like that. It's like a roulette wheel. So unlucky. That's Ed's lost a point there.
So hard.
Before anyone moans on Twitter, I don't make the rules. I just enforce them. Sorry about that.
And enforce the rules that you made.
Yeah,
exactly. So Fraser gets a point for that one. Okay, so number 4. JavaScript added new date methods to fix the tricky Y2K problematic methods in JavaScript. What were they based on? And I'll roulette wheel. So Ed,
I hate you so much. What's the question? This is ridiculous. JavaScript.
Okay. Okay. So JavaScript added some new methods to fix the Y2K problems.
Okay.
I don't know if they did exist or not, but they did it anyway. What were they based upon? I.e., there were methods written somewhere else.
Oh, okay. Were they PHP methods?
No. So I'm going to go to Fraser.
Java methods.
Yes.
Boom. So I was just going to say, I thought you were actually asking. I thought I originally thought you were asking what was the Y2K problem, but obviously that's not what you were asking.
That's a bigger topic. But I'm only going to give you half a point unless you can say from what package they were taken from.
Do I get half a point if I know
1.0? Never touched Java in my life.
Go on then, Ed. I'll give you half a point.
Java.util?
Yes. All right. So I'll give you. That's me being fair. Come on, all right. So the next one. Okay, this is a bit vague because these could apply to, I'm guessing, pretty much any language. But basically, I want you to name as many JavaScript design patterns as you can.
Oh, man.
I want you to buzz in with your name before you answer each one. There's half a point for each one you get, and it has to be one that's on my list, not one
Solid, thanks, man.
Yeah, no worries.
Buzz, factory pattern.
Yes, correct. Yep.
Buzz, sorry.
Yep.
A singleton pattern.
Correct. Yep. I'm just keeping score. Sorry for the tapping on the keyboard.
Yeah, Ed's going to run away with this one.
Composite pattern?
Not on my list, sorry.
Decorator pattern?
Yep. Any more? I'm going to start a countdown. So
that's a design. MVC, I suppose, is a design pattern.
It is, yeah. Okay, I'll give you that because that was on the list.
Oh, and then you've got other ones like MVVP, like the different model view presenter.
Oh, I've just found a load. Yeah. I could reel off a load. I'd clearly be cheating. Right, constructor pattern, module pattern, revealing module pattern, singleton pattern, observer pattern, mediator pattern, prototype pattern, command pattern, facade pattern, factory pattern, mixing pattern, decorator pattern, and flyweight pattern. Boom.
I think for the fact of just getting that, knocking it out the park, on the
No, there's zero chance I can take a point for that.
Okay. But you did just name my exact list, so you...
So, you're on Adi Osmani's website.
That guy's really good. That guy has got some really good blog posts. He was the guy that wrote the Backbone JS book. And he open sourced it and everything, on GitHub. He's amazing.
I had a bit of back and forth with him on Twitter a little while ago because I was using one of his plugins that didn't work very well. So,
so he's not like Jeff, is he? He's not like Jeff.
No, he's a good lad. He seems a nice fella.
Oh, that's another thing. Actually, book-wise, recommending the book I would recommend is Douglas Crockford's JavaScript: The Good Parts. It's an amazing read. That is, I think, if you read Mickey's book, then read that one. That will completely set you up.
Yeah.
This one is a dead easy one. So, how do you declare a JavaScript object? Fraser, we'll start with you.
You have numerous ways, haven't you? You can do are we talking object literals or are we talking...
Oh, yeah!
Boom!
Chinatown, sir!
Off the wrist.
1 point for making me look stupid. Well done. I don't know.
Okay, I'll do an object literal.
Go for it.
Well, functions are objects as well, I guess. So you can just declare it as in a variable equals a function, or you can do a variable name equals like open curly brace, close curly brace, and you can put your objecty stuff in there.
That was the answer I was looking for.
Okay, boom. That'll be the literal then.
Yeah. Ed, I'm guessing
shut your mouth, Mickey. Yeah, how'd you like that? Yeah, you're thinking.
I'm just impressed. I genuinely got a question right on JavaScript on something that wasn't just a question that wasn't on CSS.
Yeah, good work, man. That's good. Yeah. Right. Okay.
There's also another way you can do it. Sorry, in ECMAScript 5, object.create, and you can pass in the prototype you actually want to be its parent.
I think I've seen that. Yeah. Okay. This one is a little bit more tricky, actually, and I had to Google it. I know Ed knows it because I think he actually did a tutorial on it the other week. But so we'll start for that reason. I'm not being unfair, but we'll start off with Fraser. But how can you make a private method in JavaScript?
Over to you, Ed. You wrote the tutorial, so
a private method in JavaScript. Would you use a closure?
Okay, possibly, but that's not the answer I've got here, so I'm not accepting it.
I hate you so much.
It has to be my answer, I'm afraid.
I actually saw a video and it was explaining this, but it didn't go in clearly.
Yeah, no worries. I think there are, to be fair, there is many ways of doing this, but this is the one that I think is the most straightforward. So, any ideas, Ed?
All right. So to make it private, you would. Oh, hang on. Are you talking about a var? You want to make it?
Yep.
All right.
I want you to instantiate an object, and I want you to
put a function inside it.
Yeah.
We'll just put it inside it. Because objects are first-class citizens. You can pop it inside there. You can use it as a function declaration, a function expression.
I don't think I've explained my question very well, but in fact, I think my question is completely flawed, actually. It's actually more for public methods. Okay, so I had basically a function person. I've used create a person object, basically.
Okay.
And then I have... in fact, this is a public method. This has made me look stupid. But basically, I had this.name equals name. Name's passed in as a parameter. And then I had, outside of that, I had person.prototype.getName, which is then a function, which then is return this.name. So basically, that is a public method, which is embarrassing.
You could make it a private one. So what you could do in that, in your function you've got for your constructor.
Yeah.
You could put a var. You could make a var name in there, and it would only be allowed to be in there. And then you could also do this dot, and you could make a method, a function expression in there that would be able to access that.
Yeah, that's actually what I was looking at.
Oh, it's really funky. I want to write a blog post on it because I started looking into it a bit more in depth, and there's some really cool stuff you can do with closures and Yeah.
Okay, so I'll give Ed a point for that, even though my question was ridiculous. Right, number 8 then, and this was in the podcast. What year did John Resig release jQuery? I'll let anyone go first.
Sorry, who's first?
Either of you can go first.
2006?
Boom.
Ed, you're going for 2006, are you?
Yeah.
Okay, so you both get a point for that. Well done.
Okay.
Number 9.
Oh.
Okay. Out of the 10,000 most visited websites on the web.
What is number 6,412?
3decimalmaybe.com.
We wish. What percentage use jQuery? Is it A, between 0 and 40%? Is it B, between 40 and 80%? Or is it C, over 80%?
C.
I'll say, I think it's C, but I'll say B so that I have any kind of a chance of gaining one up.
Well, you're one down. It's over 80%.
It's ridiculous, isn't it? Everything uses jQuery.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Like, jQuery is amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was quite shocked by that stat, though, to be honest with you. I was thinking, then again, 10,000 most visited sites, I guess it makes sense.
They're all WordPress sites, it just comes standard.
So this is the final question. Okay. Bear with me, this is a bit wordy, but wordy. If I wanted to add a method called boo to jQuery that appended the text cheese to a div with an ID of test.
Oh man, Fraser's going to knock me out here.
Hang on, so appended the text cheese?
This is just a theoretical.
Okay.
You could create whatever.
So actually you just want to add a method to jQuery?
But in my particular example, this method is going to add the text cheese to a div with an ID of test. How would I do it?
Right, so $.fn. Oh crap! Is it $.fn. The method name, or is it?
Yep, that sounds right, man.
$.fn method name, open brackets. Oh no,
not quite.
You usually extend. .extend.
Yes.
And then you pass. So $.fn.extend, then pass in the name of the function you want to call it, then the closure.
Correct. It's the right answer. So I'm going to give you both a point for that because you kind of.
But you could do it the other way, couldn't you? .fn and then just.
Maybe that's just the way that I.
And are we doing the other part as well? So you want to find everything with an ID. So $ open bracket colon hash. What was your ID again?
Test
dot append cheese in brackets with quotes.
So the way I've done it is I've got $, then open my brackets, obviously quotes, hashtag test, and then .boo.
Yeah.
And then obviously in my boo function, it does return this .html cheese.
Boom.
So, but I've put that in a separate file, so I can put that in the show notes. So anyone who is in need of extending jQuery can have a look at that. So I need to add these up now.
Basically, Ed one.
Can you two talk in the background while I just add this up?
So Mickey, he's a mean guy.
Yeah, bit of a bellend.
Actually, there was a couple of things like. I was hoping to talk about some like JavaScript gotchas and stuff like this keyword and stuff like variable hoisting and stuff. But I think that would probably be best left for another podcast because I think I could write out quite a few things that will stump. Because JavaScript is meant for a simple language, you can say define. I'm sure you all see this. We were talking about var and then specifying the name of the variable, but you can also just specify the variable. And if you just specify the variable, it goes onto the window object.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So stuff like that where I could be in a function all the way down, but if I just say hello Fraser equals hello, it will go into the window object if I don't put var.
Yeah.
ECMAScript 6 sorts it out with let, but there's a couple of things like gotchas and stuff, but I'll leave that for another podcast. I don't know when we're next going to do on JavaScript, but definitely.
Maybe put some stuff in the show notes, maybe?
Yeah, that's cool. Yeah, I've got a couple of links actually, so that'd be awesome.
Yeah, cool. And I've got my show notes here, which I'll give to you after the show. So I think we're about done, chaps, unless you need to say anything before we go.
No.
No, just the usual stuff of write us a review on iTunes, send us more emails, send us more tweets. And thank you for the people who have been contacting us. It's, really appreciate it.
Absolutely. And, just to reiterate Fraser's words before, anyone who wants to come on the show, just send us an idea of what you'd like to talk about.
Send us a video and pledge us your love for the show, why you want to come on, and 50 glorious English pounds.
We will need your first name. If your name's Jeff, then...
It can't just be initials. Sorry.
Yeah, some profile picture would be good as well. Cool. All right. Well, thanks for listening, guys. And we will be back next week with do we have a topic, or are we just going to leave it open for now?
We're going to let it roll.
We'll let it roll. All right. Thanks for listening, guys. See you next week.
See you later, guys. Bye.
You've been listening to 3 Devs and a Maybe. You can contact us at contact@3devsandamaybe.com or follow us on Twitter at 3 Devs and a Maybe.